Lethal Contingencies. Alan here. So today we're going to be testing the 4 times 12 gram CO2 stock. Okay. Made a few modifications since the last time I tested it. We're going to go over those changes right now. So the first thing I did was I added on and off 2 zones now. So now we have 8890 on and off valves. Okay, so each has its own on and off valve. This way we can zone it out. So if you want to shoot 2 times 12 gram and then not actually activate the second one, actually you can puncture both if you choose to, and then you can turn one on, leave the other one off, or if you want to turn them both on at the same time, that works as well. However, what I would recommend in this design is that the bottom one, since the bottom one is the adapter that goes into the stock, right? And it does fit up. I mean, you don't have to have it all the way up to here, but if you do, it allows you to be closer in to the gun, right? So, or you could choose to tighten it up with it out here somewhere. If you want that kind of adjustment. I mean, honestly, if you have longer arms, then you can bring it out really until as long as you can still make contact with this screw, and you don't want to over tighten the screw because it is just plastic. Okay, so it can be adjusted. So that is that design. And again, this was a 3D printed 2 times 12 gram stock that I got through Alternate Arms Self-Defense. I think it was $25 for this. Okay. And again, you get the 2 12 gram adapters, right? This is one that they marketed. It's a little cheaper than the puncture one. Those are running like $50-$60, whereas these were about $30 each. So, and these are the ones that you typically see on their air, I think it's called an air javelin, I think it is. You twist these. The nice benefit to twisting these to puncture versus having the one that you quickly puncture is that with these, as you're cranking them, you can actually hear them kick off, and it kind of gives you a better feeling that you got them all actually punctured. At least that's how I feel about it anyways, because I got both kind, and I've had more trouble with the quick puncture ones. Sometimes they don't both puncture in there, and there's really no way of telling because you're hitting it, you don't hear it. With this, if you listen carefully, you can hear it. You can hear the first one puncture, and then as you keep tightening it down, you can hear the second one, the inboard one, CO2 puncture. All right, so that's really the major change here. The other major change that I was kind of working on is I realized after all that auto fire I was getting, the TR50, and then I tried it again on the IntruBuster Gen 2, and it was an auto fire, what I call an auto fire smorgasbord. It was impossible. It was just wasting CO2 left and right. So I had figured that we need to restrict this. So rather than trying some various on and off valves or any other devices that would make the stock even longer, because I could have built some more restriction on the front end, I decided to go with this. So I tapped. Normally you would say drill and tap, but as it turned out, this paintball adapter here, this G1/2 to 1/8 adapter was, I didn't even need to drill it. It was like perfect size. All I had to do was just use my 1/8 tap and just tap some threads into it. And then I used basically it was a brass 1/8 plug, okay, with a little hex key on here. And I drilled, the first one I drilled 1/16, but it's going to be too big for CO2. I'll probably use that on another project, another build for HBA, for example. At the time, it was the smallest drill bit I had was the 1/16. So I figured, oh, let me try it. Maybe I'll do some testing with it. But then I ended up ordering a metric mini drill bit kit that has the hex key end on it so I could fit it in my 3/8 drill, cordless drill. So now I have this one. I'm still waiting on a 0.5 millimeter drill bit, slightly smaller, but this one is actually 1 millimeter. I don't know if you can see that or not. So basically what I did was I made a homemade restrictor for this, for the CO2. So this is, being that it's going to be 1 millimeter, ultimately I may end up going with the 0.5 millimeter. It all depends on if I have any auto fire with this or not. I think this is going to do the trick for me, but I do have a 0.5 millimeter drill bit heading my way. Hopefully it's supposed to be delivered today. So what I'm going to do is I have a bunch of these brass 1/8 plugs. I'm going to make some various different sizes. This way I can test with those. But I think this should solve the auto fire problem. Having that gog on and off, which I had drilled out incidentally, so it didn't help me. I wish I didn't drill the darn thing out now. If I had realized that was causing more auto fire, I wouldn't have done that, but I did. So anyway, so that's the brass, homemade brass restrictor. Okay, so we're going to be testing that out. I think what I'm going to do is I'm only going to activate the lower adapter first, right? I'll puncture them both, but I will leave the top one off, and then I want to see what it does. If I don't get any auto fire, wonderful, then I'll go ahead and I'll turn the other one on as well. So that is what we're going to do. So yeah, so let me make sure these are in the off position. That's on, that's off. Yeah, let's see. So other than the on and off valves and the plug, and naturally you got to have a 1/8 tap, MPT tap. Other than those three things, essentially, or four things, that list of parts that I have in a couple of these videos, if you look in the description field, is pretty much a complete list of all the components that I used, with links to acquire them. Some of these components you may already have. You know, for me, I already had one of these 2x12 adapters from Umarex. I also already had the on and offs from MCS, and I had much of this plumbing. I had this. Really, I had everything. Now that I think about it, the only thing I had to do was get one more of these female half-inch NTP or NPT to 1/8 male. I think I had to get one more of those because I had another one that was already in use. And then these other fittings, I had these. So, but anyways, let's get to it. And then what we'll be doing is we'll be shooting this with the IntruBuster Gen 2. And how do you like my belly belt? Right? It's called a Bravo belt. I don't carry out very often, but I had picked this up because I felt it'd be comfortable. I could slide it up. Of course, this IntruBuster still is pretty big to try to conceal carry, but hey, holds 2 magazines here. Came with another Velcro magazine holder for this side. And the only thing is sometimes you lose an ammunition. Somehow I must have released it. Anyways, yeah, so this is the Bravo belly belt. Yes, you're supposed to wear it under your clothes, but you know, I'd have it over a t-shirt and maybe have a loose jacket over. You can bring it up, you can make it as tight as you want, you can run it on your back. You know, there's different things you can do. This works really good with the Beeman. It's pretty comfortable. Beeman's a much smaller profile. Which one is this missing? I think it's this one. Yeah. Yeah, so it's good. It's called the Bravo belt. Anyways, obviously I don't make anything on it, but you know, I figured I'd mention it. If you're kind of wondering what I was wearing here, I figured that'd be fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll be shooting out of the, so you have a strap here, a little stretchable strap. Okay. It just pulls out pretty easy. Goes in just easy. Move it around to the back, the small of your back. You can make it tighter, you can bring it up, bring it down. Yeah, so that's the Bravo belt. It wasn't too expensive either. Goodness, I bought this a long time ago now that I think about it. I think it was like 40, 50 bucks. I don't know. I mean, is that a lot? I mean, I don't think that's, these days, I don't think it's a lot. Anyways, so that is the Bravo belly belt. There's a lot of different companies out there, but this one seems to be, had pretty good reviews. And yeah, so I haven't used it outside the house yet, but I don't know if I'm going to or not. There was a time when I wanted to, but I don't know. But like I said, for this is still a very chunky gun, pretty thick gun to be concealed carrying. But if you're looking for something to carry this, especially if you have a laser on it and maybe an optic like this, I gotta say, this is very comfortable. I mean, is it being concealed? Yeah, if I had a big coat, if I had a coat or even a button-down shirt that was kind of loose, it'd probably be pretty concealable for the most part. At least it wouldn't be sticking out like a sore thumb or something. If I was walking around, I don't know. But yeah, as far as, I don't even need to put a coat on to show you. This. Anybody, you guys have got one of these IntruBuster Gen 2s, it's not the easiest thing to conceal. You're better off putting it in a bag. One of those cross carry bags or something, tactical bags would be your best bet. But if you wanted to keep it on you, this is definitely more comfortable. You get in the vehicle, it naturally rides up higher, so you don't have a stiff piece of leather or other materials holster there. So that is the belly belt. All right, let's let me put that down over here, and we will just the belly belt. Take the belly belt off. Don't need the belly belt on now. I just wanted to show you guys that. I also have a tactical Scorpion leather, all leather. It's the Bravo belt. That one's nice too, and it fits the Beeman like a glove. Even with a laser on the front of the Beeman, it fits it great. I mean, that's a really nice. And again, it didn't cost a lot of money for it. It's all leather, all leather. So really good. Those two are the two I have, and then I got another rotary plastic holster belt clip for the that was designed for the Burner LE. So those are pretty much the three holster options that I have if I carry, and I don't really carry much. So I mean, most of the time if I'm going to carry something, I carry some like maybe like a gel pepper spray or something like that, something small. So if I was going into more dangerous areas, yeah, maybe I would carry, but most of my stuff is just kind of geared to home defense. And that's why I'm really into the more powerful stuff, modifying them, making more powerful builds. You're not going to carry something highly modified on an everyday carry, and if you did use it, you might even open yourself up to lawsuits, so probably not worth it. But they come to your house, that's a different story, right? They come to you, they come a knocking, that's it. They're getting it hot and heavy. All right, so we got both of these in the off position. I babbled on, sorry about that, guys. Me babbling. So we explained we got the restrictor in here. This is a 1mm brass restrictor. And we're gonna hope that thing's gonna work and do the trick for us. I think it will. We'll see how it goes though. All right, so I'm gonna puncture the bottom one. I'm gonna actually puncture them both, I think. All right, I'm gonna listen for the punctures as I crank this in. All right, so there's the first one kicking off. Don't hear any leaks anywhere up to the valve. I'm gonna keep turning it until I hear the second one kick off. You don't always hear it, but oftentimes you do. Yeah, see, that time I didn't hear it. Usually I do. But that's pretty much all the way down, good and tight. I don't want to break anything on this one. Not that I probably could break it, but all right, so that's good and tight. All right, I believe both of those kicked off. The top one is also in the off position. We'll leave it in that position, but I am going to puncture it. You know, I think I heard it more before I introduced the on and offs because it was rushing, air was rushing to fill the plumbing in here into the gun. Notice I'm doing this without it being on the gun. I can do that because I got the on and off in there in the off position. So otherwise I wouldn't be doing that right now. So you could technically puncture these like this, providing these are off, leave it for a little while, let it stabilize. You know, you could do that as well. All right, that's one, the outboard one, I think. Yeah, and I'm not hearing the inboard one puncture, but I know they are. This thing's good and tight, so feel pretty confident. And one of these has a gauge. The other, they both had a gauge at one point, but now I got to plug in the other one because I don't know. I forget exactly what happened to the other gauge. I think I used it somewhere else on another project or something. So there's a plug there. But with them both actually, once you open both of these valves, these on and off valves, then that one gauge is going to be, it's going to read for the combined pressure. You know, right now it's only reading because it's on the, what would you call that? The line, a load side. I'm going to call it the line side, right? That gauge is actually on the line side. So it's only picking up pressure here. It wouldn't be picking up any pressure over here if there was any, which there's not. And I know that for sure because I'd be leaking. Okay, so both of those off. This top one's actually starting to stabilize pretty close to 900, I think. Okay, again, I don't know how accurate these gauges are. You know, I wouldn't bet the house on them or any crap like that. But anyway, so that's the 4 times 12 grams CO2 stock, okay? With a restrictor. All right. I am going to take the plug out of this Home Defense 24 short tuning ASA, okay? I'm going to take the plug out and we'll put that there. And I'm going to shoot a little squirt of silicone lubrication. A little lubrication goes a long way. All right, let's make sure that that's got some lubrication in there. And then we're going to go ahead and spin this in. And I do actually have, in order to clock this, I did have to put an O-ring inside the ASA here. Okay, and then that kind of perfectly clocked it for me. You'll see that in a moment. Spin this on. Our CO2 stock. All right. That looks good there. Of course, the gun is unloaded. You can see that. There is a CO2 cartridge unpunctured in the handle. So technically, you could do 5 times 12 gram, you know, or you could leave this as reserve. I'm not going to puncture it. It can be left as reserve if you need more, you know. If this all works properly and doesn't cause auto fire, doesn't create a situation for that, then there should be enough CO2. You're talking about, you know, 412 grams. You're looking at 48 right here. 48 grams of CO2 should be enough to get off, you know, 2, 3, 4 magazines, I would think. I am going to be shooting the AR Tactical 8 gram, kind of my go-to these days for the IntruBuster Gen 2. These are 685. The same ammunition, 685, and they weigh in at 9.9 grams, but they call them the 10 gram joules, okay? So we'll be shooting, to start off with, 2 magazines, and if there's plenty of gas left, if we don't have auto fire, and this restrictor, homemade restrictor remedies that, then I'll probably load, I don't know, I got some alien play in here. I also got a bunch of standard and XL 8.5 gram less lethal ballistics smasher rounds. So I'll either run some smasher rounds or maybe some of the solid aluminum. So, all right, so we got these going. I'm gonna go ahead and air up the bottom one. All right. I'm gonna see if we can air up the gun here off of just the bottom adapter right now. So let's turn that. Okay. That's in full on. Not hearing any leaks from the gun. I did hear the bolt, so I think we're good there. I'm gonna leave the top one valve in the off position for now. I just want to test it for a little bit and at least get a magazine out of just the 212 grams, because I want to, you know, I'm looking for data here right now. So, because if it doesn't resolve the issue, I'm going to probably go with that smaller restrictor, that 0.5. But, so like I said, once you get that one turned on, if you like it choked up on the stock really well, you can just slide it right down there, give it a spin, and don't over tighten this, just enough to keep it from falling off. Okay. All right, we got that. Put my ears on. Ears on, and then I got the chrony set to feet per second, and as usual I'll be calling out the feet per second, and then I'll update the video by the time you see it. All right, we have a green dot sight that has some adjustments. It's got a crosshairs and some regular dot options, and then we got a green laser as well. Green being my favorite color at all. All right, 6 of the 8 gram AR Tactical Joules. Oh, I think I may have mistakenly said 10 gram and I said 9.9 gram. I was getting mixed up with the other ones. Those are the ones that I use all the time on the Pistelli. These 685 rounds are actually 8.28 grams. So these are the 8 gram joules, okay? And we got 2 mags, 6 each. All right, we are hot. Okay, mag 1. Mag 1, shot 1. Let's see. All right. Mag 1, shot 1. 392.2 feet per second. That sounded good, powerful. Mag 1, shot 2. 376 feet per second. Shot 3. 369.3 feet per second. Shot 4. 361.6. Shot 5. 320.6 feet per second. And the last one, shot 6. 339.1 feet per second. Okay. I don't have a gauge for the bottom one, and I didn't turn on the top adapter yet, so the gauge still reads 900, almost 1,000 psi from this tank that I haven't. I keep calling it a tank. It's kind of like a tank. This adapter is what the Umarex calls it. That felt really good. Good power. I think what I'm going to do is, I didn't have any dead trigger, no auto fire. I didn't even have the slightest stutter either. So far, I think that 1mm homemade restrictor is doing the trick. Okay. Now, since this is the first time I'm firing it and doing it live right here, I'm going to turn this valve off because I want to take the stock out and just take a quick look at that restrictor and make sure that nothing's loose. I mean, it shouldn't be, but I mean, I was able to tap some threads in there, but they were kind of shallow. So I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna turn remember the bottom tank of the bottom adapter is the only one I actually turned on. So I'm gonna turn this to the off position. Okay. And in order to check that, I am going to lose some air. So this test is not going to be probably my optimal shot count, high shot count test. But I'm willing to sacrifice some of this air because I need to check that restrictor and make sure that it's still there. Okay. So we're gonna, both of these are off. I'm gonna double check. Both of these are off. Okay, both are off. So now I'm gonna just degas the gun, which is gonna be the gas that's in the handle chamber and also in the ASA. And the only reason why I'm doing this is because I want to spin the stock off and I want to double check that brass 1mm restrictor. Okay, being overly cautious because it's the first time I've ever fired it. I just built this thing and I just installed the brass restrictor today. So, and I'm taking you guys along for the ride. All right. Okay. Let's see what we got. Keep your fingers crossed. My O-ring's still in place. And the brass restrictor, 1mm drilled, hasn't budged. Which it really shouldn't have anyways. But I had to check just for my own sake. All right, so it looks good. So we're gonna screw this back on. All right, again, I used an O-ring to clock it. It was necessary. You might get lucky on your setup. Maybe you don't need to do that. All right, so I am gonna go ahead and I'm gonna activate the 2x12 gram again. Okay, just the bottom one. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that back on and listen to the bolt. Full on. No leaks. Thankfully, this gun, the O-rings in this gun's been doing good after I changed that bird cage, that plenum O-ring. It's been pretty good. All right, and I've been running some rounds through it too. Same thing with the Pistelli. It's been doing good. All right, so again, we only have the on and off valve on for the bottom one, okay? And I'm doing that intentionally because this is a test, okay? And I want to get data. All right, I'm curious how many shots I'm going to get just out of 2 grams over here with this setup. Okay. All right. So that was one magazine down. I have another magazine set up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, these are the 8 gram jewels, which weigh in at 8.2 or 8.28, pretty consistent. I had a really consistent batch. Almost all of them are like 8.28. All right, we'll turn the laser back on. We are on. All right, mag 2, running only from the bottom adapter. Okay, so the 12 grams, technically 24 grams right now. I could do another test to do the combined 48. I mean, it's just going to be double the capacity. I'm not expecting any increase in pressure or any performance increase by having 4. It's more about just having that volume there. So, and I thought it'd be a cool idea. All right. All right, so here we go. Mag 2, shot 1. 8 gram. 308.5 feet per second. Shot 2. 282.5 feet per second. Shot 3. 253 feet per second. Shot 4. 202.4 feet per second. So that's pretty low now. Okay. That was what, shot 4? Yeah, that's too low. Okay. So my trigger is dead, and I don't believe it's from auto fire like I was having the other day. My trigger was going dead, but it was during an auto fire event. I haven't received any auto fire, not even the slightest stutter that I can hear. So I think it's just a CO2 in here. You know, again, keeping in mind, guys. Okay, the other big thing that's different than a lot of your markers is that I'm running this 4 times 12 gram CO2 stock with a very thirsty tuning ASA, right? This home defense short. It may not be the biggest one that they offer, but it's still pretty thirsty. That expands that chamber all the way out to here, so it's taking a lot more gas each time to fill that up. Okay, so you got to keep that in mind too. You may or may not have this ASA. You may have an MCS ASA that doesn't really have much of expansion to it, or you may have the MCS one with that little expansion chamber. It's still not as big as this. Okay, this is designed for high performance or performance, whereas the MCS product is more durability, reliability. Okay, it's made out of stainless steel. Well, it's made out of steel anyways. Their ASA, it's rugged, it's safe. It's gonna achieve the goal of being able to shoot HBA. But even with the expansion, that little expansion adapter you can get for it, it will give you an increase, but it's not going to be as much as this particular tuning ASA. Okay, so I said all that just to say you got to also consider that. Okay. It's also one of the reasons why I'm getting some higher numbers as well, is because of that additional expansion in here. All right, so I know the gas is low. Okay, so rather than just, well, the trigger, right? I mean, I couldn't shoot another shot, so I got 6 off, 6 good strong shots, and then I got 4 more. So what's that? 10. I got 10 shots of 8 gram, powerful, because of this additional CO2 expansion. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on the top tank, which I didn't have on before, and who knows? I mean, if I had turned on both tanks and then just shot, maybe it would have been a better shot count. I don't know. You also got to keep in mind, I did drain this whole gun. I did degas all that CO2 that was in this large chamber, the regular stock chamber in here. All that CO2 I degassed for the sole purpose of being able to check that restrictor. I wanted to make sure that brass restrictor didn't move and was good. Okay, probably wasn't necessary, but in an abundance of caution, and because I'm testing basically a new design. Okay, a CO2 stock with the restrictor built in. Okay, which is going to allow you to run this type of setup through a rear ASA, whether it be this type or whether it be a different rear ASA. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I know I get the gift for gab today, but bear with me because I'm also explaining as I go, with the intent that, you know, I get some new viewers that are maybe it's the first time they've seen this. Okay, or seen this, I should say. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn that top tank on. I'm not going to turn off the bottom one because there is some gas left in there, albeit not enough to keep the bolt fully activated. But there is something in there, so I'm going to turn this top one on, and then we're going to check the PSI gauge. Right now it shows about 900 PSI available inside here. I'll turn that on. All right, I could hear the inrush of gas. And now the gauge just dropped down to about 600 PSI. So this tank was really depleted. Okay, so when I turned that on, it rushed in. You could hear it. You probably heard that on the audio because I got the Bluetooth right here. And now the gauge was reading 900. Now it's dropped to about 600, just a little bit over 500 PSI. Okay, so again, it's probably because, and I shouldn't be waving this around. I still have what? 2 rounds in this magazine. I still got 2 rounds. Let's fire them off. That was a silly move. All right, I normally do not do things like that. You know, this is one of those things where do as I suggest, not as I do. All right, so there's 2 more rounds in here. I got a trigger back, so that's a good sign. We're gonna fire these 2 rounds, and then I think I'm gonna load up some 8.5 gram smashers. All right, so this is still mag number 2, shot number 5. 359.3 feet per second. Shot number 6, mag number 2. The last shot of mag number 2. 347 feet per second. All right, everything's good. Nothing's in there. All right. Just gonna give it a quick listen to. The gun's not leaking gas, nothing's leaking gas. Everything. I'm gonna leave it energized right here like this with the on and off. Both on and offs are on now. All right. I would think we're at least gonna get another magazine out of this. Hopefully 2. But again, if I don't get more than 1 more mag out of it, remember, I had to evacuate that gun full of CO2 in order to take the stock off and check that homemade restrictor, brass restrictor that I made, okay? But I will say this, that 1mm brass restrictor, it's working great. I don't think I'm gonna need that 0.5 millimeter drill bit, but it'll be good to have anyways. So I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know, I'll probably still drill out another brass plug with the 0.5 because maybe there's greater efficiencies to gain. A little less power maybe, feet per second, but it might have some better efficiencies maybe with the smaller restrictor like we see from the factory, right? So anyways, let's get, I don't know, at this point, let me get a bunch of smashers. 4, 5, 6. Let me make sure they're all the same size. I have a mix of standard. I mean, I think they're all the same weight though, 8.5. There's a standard. I think there's just slightly different. There's another standard. Standard. I think they're just slightly different in size, but not so much weight. Or I could be mistaken. Here's an XL, but I know both. I mean, this ammunition is definitely it's definitely way small for this barrel. I mean, this is a 6.89 barrel on the factory barrel for the IntruBuster Gen 2. So these are like 6.81, 6.82. All right, so we got a mix of, they're all about the same weight anyways, 8.5 grams. All right, so here's 6 of those. I'm gonna be hopeful, even though I know I wasted a lot of gas and I have this big tuning ASA on the back of my gun. I'm gonna be hopeful and I'm gonna load up two magazines anyways, in hopes that I get at least a mag and a half more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna be hopeful. Today's a good day. Today's a good day to be hopeful. All right. We got 2, 4, 6. Dog here. Good thing though, ever since I put up that curtain over there, the dog stays, the German Shepherd stays out of my area. So, but there's still fragments of dog hair everywhere. You dog lovers out there know what I'm talking about, especially if you live with a German Shepherd. All right. Unfortunately, I lost my Chihuahua, my 13-year-old Chihuahua, but he lived a good long life. But I still got my Nova dog, my black and tan, the German Shepherd. She's a good girl, 8 years old. She's my security dog. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. She loves people though. All right, so we're still aired up. I have 2 magazines of the 8.5 less lethal ballistics smashers, Smasher Standard, and a couple XLs mixed in the mix. They all weigh about the same, 8.5. So let's see what we get left on this. Again, keeping in mind, and I'm just stressing it for anybody that, I know some of you guys don't watch these videos all the way through, you bounce around, whatever. I'm just stressing. Don't focus so much on the shot count, okay? This is a test in progress. I had to evacuate the gun in order to take the stock off and inspect it because peace of mind thing. Wanted to make sure that that brass restrictor didn't back its way out or anything like that. Okay, so that's the deal with that, guys. All right, we're just going to shoot until we get a dead trigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, this is with the 1 millimeter restrictor. Okay, might be able to gain some better efficiency as well with the 0.5, but we'll see. All right. So this is technically mag number 3, shot 1, but it's the 8.5 gram ammo, not the 8.28 ammo. Okay, so a little heavier ammo. All right. Mag 3, shot 1, 8.5 gram. 334.8 feet per second. Mag 3, shot 2. 319.2 feet per second. Shot 3. 308.9 feet per second. Shot 4. 294.7 feet per second. Shot 5. 277.6 feet per second. And that thing was like bouncing all over the freaking place. All right, one more shot. Shot 6, 259.0 feet per second. All right, so that's a total of 3 mags. I actually went up heavier with the ammo, right? I was doing, the first 2 magazines were the 8 gram joules, which was actually weigh in at 8.2 or 8.28 grams. And now we just did a magazine. Third magazine was slightly heavier, 8.5 gram smashing rounds. Okay. All right. I don't mind talking a little bit. You say, of course you don't mind. Yeah. No, I don't mind talking. But one advantage to me talking right now, slowing things down a little bit, is that I'll let this CO2 kind of balance out or build up a little bit, re-energize. Let it re-energize a little bit, okay? In the meantime, while we're doing that, this is what the IntruBuster Gen 2 looks like with my new build, my design of the 4x 12 gram CO2 stock with the 1 millimeter built-in restrictor in the stock. Okay? That is what it looks like. Okay. Some different views. That's what it is. Pressure. We have, I don't know, it looks like it's just above 500 PSI. These gauges are tough to read. So we still have, I would say 600 PSI in here. So I know the bolt's still got pressure on it. I don't know, there's probably some glare, but my eyes are reading 600 PSI, okay? Ooh, stepping on joules. Or is that a smasher? Yeah, they're all over my feet. All right, so that's pretty good. I think I waited long enough here just to let it stabilize. I mean, 600 PSI. Let's see if we'll get through a 4th magazine. And again, I'm gonna say it. If we don't get through this 4th magazine, it's not a big deal for me because I had to evacuate the gun once. Haven't had any leaks, but I had to intentionally evacuate it in order to take the stock off and check that brass restrictor. My choice. I wanted to do that because this is a testing environment. I wanted to make sure. Also, we're doing what most people don't do, which is start off with lighter ammo and then move to a slightly heavier ammo, okay? So we've done 2 magazines of the 8 gram joules, which weigh in at 8.2 grams. And we've already shot off a 3rd magazine, but the third magazine had slightly heavier ammo in it, the 8.5 gram smashers. And now this is a fourth magazine that we're going to attempt to get through, okay, of the 8.5 gram smashers, okay? Most of them are smasher standards. I may have a couple XLs in here too. But the weight I'm pretty sure is the same anyway. All right, so this is Mag 4. CO2 stock with 1mm brass restrictor built in. 8.5 gram smashers. Shot 1. 236.4 feet per second. All right, so it's still pretty low. I don't think we're going to get through this whole magazine. It didn't really have much, it probably didn't have much left for liquid CO2. All right, so shot 2. We still got trigger pressure, so that's a good sign that we'll get off at least another shot here. All right, so Mag 4, shot 2, 8.5 gram smasher. Ooh, that was different. Like, it was just losing pressure. It barely shot 202 feet per second. I have pressure, but it's dipping off so much now where I don't even think I'm going to get another shot off, or it might just roll out of the freaking barrel. Let me try it anyway. Shot 3. No. There's like a little resistance on there. That's it. All right. So let me get these things out of my ears so I can hear myself think or speak. All right. We got 2 there, and I think 2 more. Yeah, 2 more here, the smashes. All right, so I'm not surprised we didn't get through the fourth mag, but I'm not surprised. I mean, I know we would have got through the fourth magazine for sure if I didn't evacuate the CO2 out of the gun in order to check that restrictor. So I feel like now that we have restriction built in and we're not doing the auto fire dance, okay, I feel like that this design will at least get you 1 magazine per CO2 cartridge, which again, with this tuning ASA on here, this good size Home Defense 24 short tuning extension, or maybe you have another, maybe you got an SSD tuning extension, a tuning ASA I should say, or maybe you're running the MCS, okay? I think that's really the 3 that are out there right now. I haven't heard of any third option. Again, you got to remember, you're using more gas. Each time these CO2s, it's the same thing if it's the CO2 in the handle. You're getting more gas going into a bigger ASA chamber, tuning chamber. So add that to the fact that I did have to evacuate the gun of CO2, at one point. I think that's pretty good. We got through 4 mags. I'm sorry. We didn't get through 4 mags. We got through 3 mags and 2 shots. So what was that? 18, 19. We got 20 shots. 20 shots out of this. Not too bad. Like I said, like I was saying, I am convinced that if I hadn't evacuated the gun, I would have got more of those 4 more shots, and I would have had a total of 4 magazines. Which in my opinion, with good, solid, high-power shots out of this, in my opinion, I think that's worth the design, building the design, because now you're not stopping to load up more 12 grams. And you also have the added bonus. You could puncture this 12 gram as well, or you could use it as your backup. Maybe you start off, and that's another thing too, that I'm thinking about it. I chose for testing data, to only actually turn the on and off valve for the bottom one first. Okay. But what did we get? Well, the bottom one gave us, I think it was 8 shots, a full mag, and then 2 into the second, I think it was. I'll have to play back the video. Yeah. All right. So lots of talking. I get you. Lots of talking, but I'm talking my way through this a little bit. All right, so I'm going to degas, see what we have left in here. Probably not much. I'm sure it ain't going to be frosty. Yeah. 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 So all our liquid CO2 is gone. It was used up. So yeah, I think this was a win. You know, I think this was a win for me. I think this design now, I'm able to realize this design, and it's working. It's working good. I like it. It's a good looking stock. You know, I think it kind of looks like a cross between two different worlds here. You know, it looks pretty cool, I think. But yeah, that is the IntruBuster Gen 2 with the Home Defense Short ASA and the new 4 times 12 gram CO2 stock build. Okay, that's all, folks. And of course, I kind of showcased the Bravo belt for any of you guys looking for that sort of thing. All right, thank you for your time. Hopefully this was interesting, educational, I don't know, entertaining at the least, right? Anyways, thank you. You have a great evening, and peace out. All right, Alan with Less Lethal Contingencies here again. And I figured, you know what, I forgot to check the punctures. We should check the punctures as well to make sure everything's going good. So again, this was the 4 times 12 gram CO2 stock build, and we introduced a 1 millimeter homemade brass restrictor by tapping 1/8 NPT, tapping the G 1/2 inch to 1/8 adapter here. We just tapped that out. Didn't even have to drill it. Just cut some threads into it, and was able to put a 1/8 NPT brass plug that I drilled out with this 1 millimeter drill. Okay, and that was it. I started off with one of these little brass plugs, and I hand tapped it with a 1/8 tap that I have, and then I drilled the little brass restrictor. It's very soft, so it's easy to drill. I mean, if you don't have a drill, you might even be able to puncture it. So, you know, maybe with a shop awl or something. But yeah, so it worked out good. No auto fire. I'm so excited to report no auto fire. I'll tell you, that is huge for me, because like a lot of you guys, I have been struggling with auto fire. I mean, even on guns that I haven't had the problem before, they come falling out here. All right, so there's my little plastic spacer I like to run between these. I like to run it in between like that, inside the adapter, just so that it's, you know, ensure a better puncture. Okay, shouldn't have to, but with the quick puncture ones of the Umarex 2 times 12 gram adapters, the ones with the quick puncture on the end, I'll tell you, if you don't run one of those or something else, some guys I think run a penny in there, something you can use the penny for, you have problems. So, all right, what do we have here? All right, that was a good puncture. This one here, I don't think this one punctured. Wow, okay. It's hard for me to see, but I don't think this inward one punctured. Now, I had thought it was going to puncture, and this is exactly my point, guys, with these, with this washer in between, this plastic spacer. I don't know if that punctured. I guess I could weigh it. It feels a little heavier. There's like a kind of an increase, a crack in, actually, you know what? It did puncture. It just kind of, looks like it kind of just, it's very fine. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna double check it right now and see if it did puncture. I'm gonna turn this one to the off position, and I'm gonna drop the one that definitely punctured back in here this way. I'm gonna put my plastic spacer back in there, and I'm gonna, just to be safe, I'm gonna see if I can hear anything. All right, I gotta back that up a little bit probably. I mean, I cranked that down pretty far, as far as I dared to crank it down. So I think it did puncture, just maybe it just wasn't a clean rip, but we'll see for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not getting nothing. It just didn't puncture. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. I just heard something when I backed off on it. Yeah. You know, sometimes these are all Umarex branded cartridges being used and installed in an Umarex branded device here, you know, the adapter. One would think their tolerances would be much better than, say, I don't know, Crossman. You know, since for this to work properly, they kind of got to know the measurements of their, you know, and have some kind of tolerance, right? Some hysteria as far as what will work in here and puncture properly. That's probably the worst case that I've seen in one of these anyways, with the twist to puncture. Yeah, it wasn't fully punctured. I mean, you can see on the gauge right here, I have pressure. Like at least 700 PSI in there, maybe more. So I'm glad I added this additional clip, this video. I'm gonna tack it on to probably the end of the, the end of the video you're watching. Yeah, so it's something to watch out for. You know, I don't always hear it, and it doesn't always guarantee that one didn't puncture if you don't hear a hissing sound as you're cranking it. But it is a good sound if you do hear everything that you're supposed to hear. So, yeah, so I still have, yeah. So now if you consider the fact that all of those rounds we got off, what did I say it was, 20 rounds? Varying weights, right? We started off with a 8.2 gram, and then we finished with some 8.5 grams, right? Got some pretty strong numbers, I would imagine, for the factory stock barrel, 4.5 inch, you know, 689 barrel. It's an oversized barrel, so you can pretty much shoot almost anything out of it. So, you know, a lot of this ammo I was using, the 685 8-gram Joules is probably was the closest thing to being bore matched. However, the 8.5 gram smashes, I mean, they're like 681. You know, they drop through a 681 ball gauge. I think it's 681, which is the one I usually use here. Yeah, 681. They drop through this all day long. So you know, you factor in, you know, they're not firing as efficient, right? A lot of that gas is getting around the ball, around the ammunition as it's being fired. I had to evacuate the CO2 out of the gun once so I could check the brass restrictor to make sure it was okay. And then now I find out I had one of the 212 grams up here not puncture until just now. Now I got 800 PSI in here again, okay? So there's that, which is a pretty big deal, okay? So, yeah, so I mean, I'm even more thrilled in a way. I'm not thrilled about this bad puncture, but what I'm happy about is that the, this is energized, this is not, I mean, this has got gas in it. But what I'm happy about is that tells me that we certainly could have got all four. You know, if I hadn't wasted the CO2 and actually had all these puncture, that tells me for sure with this 1 millimeter homemade restrictor in here, brass restrictor, that tells me for sure we would have got off probably four high powered shots. I mean, magazines, right? Instead of getting 20 rounds off, we probably would have got, you know, 24 or more, right? Here's a good puncture on that one. There's the other spacer. And this one. See, that's what the other one should have looked like. Both should look like this, and they usually do. For some reason, I don't know why, it's, you know, maybe one of these CO2 cartridges was slightly off spec, shorter maybe, you know. Ironically, this is the newer of the two adapters. I mean, you can see this one's all worn. This is where I had an actual heating element on here before, because one variation of my CO2 preheater actually at what point was mounted to this adapter. So you can see I've been using this one for several months. So I would expect, if anything, you know, if one of those piercing pins was to be dull, I would expect it to be on this one, not the brand new one, because this one's literally brand new. I'll probably only punctured, I don't know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 10 cartridges out of that one, whereas this one's probably got more than 50 cartridges probably being punctured out of it. Like I said, at one point I was using this on my CO2 preheater project, or build, my Stormtrooper build. So, you know, I know I gotta, you know, yeah, so I mean, there's that. So anyways, so I'm optimistic, you know. The next time I'm not gonna need to evacuate the gun of CO2 to test this this homemade restrictor is okay, because now I feel pretty confident. It didn't loosen up. What was this, a 3mm, 4mm? What the hell size was this thing? I think it was 3, no, 3's too small. 3's too small. Was it this one? 5mm. Yeah. Still nice and tight in there. Can't turn it any tighter, so that didn't budge. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to budge, but I didn't put any Loctite in it, and I don't want to put Loctite in it. So in case I need to swap it out with a smaller one, I may do an experiment with a 0.5mm just to see if I can gain any more efficiencies out of it. But the 1mm works great. I had 0 auto fire, 0 stutter. The only time I had a dead trigger is when you're supposed to have a dead trigger, which is when there's not enough gas pressure to maintain the bolt. So yeah, one of these CO2s in this top adapter was not punctured. It is now. It's punctured now. So I guess I'll I don't know. Guess I'll leave that in there. Maybe that'll be my little test and see if how long it'll hold pressure for. I'll just go stick it in the closet and test these connections. Actually, this is off. I gotta leave it off anyways because it's not connected to a gun, so I don't want to turn that on. It'll just vent right out, not naturally. But yeah, I think I'll put it in there, leave it in the off position the way it is. Let's turn this one off as well. And that's it, folks. So that is the 4x 12 gram CO2 stock. All right. Thank you for watching. Peace out.